With the sensational return of Daniel Ricciardo and the drama surrounding Nyck DeVries' swift exit, AlphaTauri has taken the F1 media by storm. Now that there's a seat at Red Bull up for grabs and the former McLaren driver is back in action, all eyes are on this team. But wait, there's more. The spotlight's on Yuki Tsunoda too. According to the rumor mill, Tsunoda is fighting for the very survival of his F1 career this season. Let's take a look at how Ricciardo's return has affected Tsunoda and whether he should be concerned about his place on the team. Starting with how AlphaTauri hasn't exactly had a strong start this season. The team was pretty hopeful before the season kicked off, and they also claimed they'd sorted out a bunch of issues that messed up their 2022 season. The idea behind the brand new AT04 was to help them score points regularly. What's impressive is that he's been the only one putting points on the board, all while driving a car that's not really pulling its weight. After a not-so-thrilling 10 races, the team had to give DeVries the boot and bring in Ricciardo as a last-minute move to aim higher than 10th in the Constructors' Championship. AlphaTauri is banking on his experience to change their luck. But hold up, his joining has to be seen in the bigger picture, considering what's cooking at the main Red Bull team. This year, Red Bull Racing might just be a one-man show, as Max Verstappen has stacked up enough points to win the Constructors' Championship all by himself. Sergio Perez isn't doing so bad either right now, though he's holding strong in second place in the Drivers' Championship. But when they gave Ricciardo the call for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Perez only had one podium finish in 5 races. Now, let's get one thing straight. AlphaTauri has always been a training ground for future Red Bull hotshots, and Ricciardo's hire is like a nudge to Perez. It's also a neat way to make sense of how Yuki Tsunoda is doing. Is he truly outshining the car, or was Nyck just struggling? Let's take a look at what went down between Tsunoda and Ricciardo at the Hungarian Grand Prix. In his very first race with AlphaTauri, Ricciardo pulled off something spectacular that caught the attention of F1 paddock journalist Matt Koch. He believes Ricciardo's performance in Budapest totally overshadowed Tsunoda's season. Ricciardo not only outperformed Tsunoda in qualifying, but he also raced ahead to secure the 13th position, while the Japanese driver had to settle for 15th. Impressive, right? Despite taking a heavy hit on the opening lap, Ricciardo still powered through, finishing ahead of Tsunoda. But don't think the Japanese racing sensation gave up then. Fast forward to the Belgian Grand Prix, and he managed to one-up Ricciardo after the Aussie star's Q1 lap time was deleted due to a track limit violation. Koch said that for someone to come in and beat Tsunoda, having no knowledge of that car, how good is he? He rebounded a little bit in Belgium, but for me, that took a big part of the shine off Yuki Tsunoda's season. Yikes. This isn't just any challenge, it's a new level of competitive for Yuki. Ricciardo brings a truckload of experience. He's a multi-race winner. He's fought at the front of the pack, and he's been in the game for over 10 years now. These are things Yuki has never faced when battling a teammate. Tsunoda himself said that, "I'm learning a lot, especially getting challenged by an experienced driver, and he's not only an experienced driver, he's a top driver, and we know that he's fast." This is the Japanese driver's moment of truth, his make or break time. Despite a rocky stint with McLaren, Daniel Ricciardo is still regarded as a hotshot in the F1 scene. If Yuki can hold his own against Ricciardo, he's not just proving himself to the team, he's making a statement to the entire grid. Now that Tsunoda is the main driver at AlphaTauri, everyone's looking at him. Especially now that Daniel's in the game, Red Bull's definitely cranking up the pressure, even if Yuki might not see it that way. News is swirling that Yuki Tsunoda is all set for a contract extension with AlphaTauri. His current deal with the Italian squad is set to end by season's end, but guess what? We've heard the team is eager to keep him on board for the next season. Yuki's been giving it his all out there, scoring some solid performances. According to sources in the paddock, Tsunoda is sticking around with the team. Now let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo, a driver known more for his driving skills than his technical expertise. He might not be the go-to guy for engineering details, and he's cool with admitting that. But what he brings to the table is his knack for breaking down the car's straights and understanding its limitations in terms of lap time. Ricciardo's input could be a game changer, but only if the car is balanced to match his style. We saw in his McLaren days that if he needs to adapt his technique too much, things can get a bit rocky. Speaking of cars, the AlphaTauri AT04 has had its struggles, especially in slow corners where it isn't performing up to par. They made some upgrades, giving the rear end a boost in downforce, but it didn't quite translate into better performance. The catch? The problem shifted to the front end. Now, the million-dollar question is whether the rear grip improvement unbalanced the car, or if the team is still searching for that sweet spot. Tsunoda might have been overshadowed by his teammate in Hungary, but his performance has actually been pretty good overall, especially with a car like that. It's not just about Yuki's contract extension though. AlphaTauri's getting a completely fresh identity. Helmut Marko's got a grand plan for Red Bull Racing's sibling squad AlphaTauri. Get ready because they're revving up for a major transformation, starting with the team's name. And that's not all. The team's management is getting a shuffle, with the current team bosses getting the boot by the end of the season. All of this is brewing in the aftermath of the passing of Red Bull's visionary founder and longtime leader, Dietrich Mateschitz. The team that once rocked the Toro Rosso name is taking a whole new road. Ferrari's former big-time engineer, Laurent Mekies, is stepping into the spotlight as the team's new principal, taking the reins in 2024. And here's another twist in the tale. Mekies won't be riding solo. He's bringing along outgoing FIA General Secretary Peter Bayer as the team's new CEO. But that's not all, race fans. The fresh-faced AlphaTauri is set to flaunt a brand new name thanks to their new title sponsor, none other than the stylish fashion brand Hugo Boss. So you definitely expect some exciting changes. AlphaTauri will no longer be Red Bull's junior training hub. The new game plan is to mold them into a full-throttle competitive team. And here's a twist. Yuki's in the spotlight as an established driver who's finding his groove in the sport. All signs point to him becoming the team's top gun for the long haul. AlphaTauri's metamorphosis from a training ground to a roaring competitor isn't just a solo act. It's all part of a bigger shift in the Red Bull world, with a plan to get rid of the junior training program altogether. All of this means that Yuki Tsunoda's position in the team is quite secure for now, and it's hard to predict if the plan is to keep Ricciardo at AlphaTauri or eventually transition him to Red Bull. But if you want to know what becomes of Ricciardo next, make sure to like and subscribe to the Grid Report, where we bring you the latest F1 updates.